A wave of independence swept across British colonies in Africa throughout the 1950s and 60s, transforming them into sovereign nations eager to establish themselves. This post-colonial era sparked intense discussions among economists who debated the best government strategies to foster economic growth in these African countries. Today, we dive into the fascinating journeys of two distinct nations, Nigeria and Kenya. While Kenya embraced government-led industrialization, Nigeria opened its doors to foreign investment and the global market. Stay tuned as we explore the outcomes of these divergent paths. Over the last century, economists have tried to determine what policies are the most successful at growing developing countries' economies. Taking inspiration from the debate between neoliberal and Keynesian economists in the West, economists in the global South debated how involved the state should be in a developing economy. In the post-World War II era, the International Monetary Fund and World Bank wanted free trade to be as widespread as possible to maximize trade relationships. In this system, countries specialize in the products they produce with comparatively higher efficiency than other countries. However, some countries in the global south did not like being relegated to exporting raw materials and agricultural products. Instead, countries like Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, Turkey, Kenya, and India wanted industrial capacity of their own. Due to less robust financial institutions, smaller overall production lines, and a workforce unaccustomed to making industrial products, these countries' newly built industries could not assemble products as efficiently as larger industrialized countries. This meant their products would be at a competitive disadvantage on the free market, costing more and getting fewer sales, even domestically. To give native industries time to develop, the Import Substitution Industrialization, or ISI policy, was invented. This policy aimed to replace imports with domestic production by imposing tariffs on foreign goods. In Kenya, the government directly supported industrial companies through subsidies and indirectly supported them with protective tariffs. These tariffs made foreign goods more expensive, enabling domestic goods to have an artificial competitive advantage. In addition to rapid industrial growth, these policies hope to achieve a higher participation in the industrial sector and high-income employment. These policies had mixed results. On the positive, Kenya had rapid industrial growth for a decade, exceeding the light industrial growth of most other East African countries. This growth created many new jobs, concentrated around the paper, textile, garment, leather tanning, food processing, beverages, footwear, and small machinery industries. During the economic turbulence of the 1970s, the industrial sector saw decreased performance. In response, the government increased its participation in the economy under the import substitution strategy, financing new industrial projects. Despite these expansions, export markets for Kenyan goods slowed extensively. Because the incentive structure favored domestic production, it caused inward-focused industries that were limited by the size of Kenya's small market. The situation was worsened by the collapse of the East African Community (EAC) Free Trade Bloc and the 1977 oil price shock. These disasters further weakened the Kenyan export markets and helped create an anti-export bias. This bias meant that Kenya's light industries focused on domestic markets under tariff protection, but did not want to compete on the international market. Later, Kenya switched to a policy of reducing the bloated system of domestic producers propped up by government subsidies, and removed many of their protectionist tariffs. However, their import substitution policies allowed for a decade of solid light industrial growth. Thanks to it, Kenya's industrial sector is still more developed than several of its neighbors, and today extensively exports these manufactured consumer goods to its southern neighbors of Uganda and Tanzania. As Kenya developed consumer goods manufacturing with the ISI policy, the West African country of Nigeria attempted to diversify its mainly agricultural economy by investing in roads, communications, and education. Additionally, it saw a limited automobile industry, not unlike the one present in Kenya during the 1960s. However, Nigeria's path to economic stability and growth was hindered by extensive systems of clientage to local elites, who controlled nearly all levers of government, like the local police, banks, and courts. They could grant government permits, build schools, and initiate infrastructure improvements. However, these benefits were typically given out as rewards for regional loyalty. Additionally, the 1967 Nigerian Civil War greatly worsened the country's path to economic development, as starvation and war befell millions in southwestern Nigeria. While Nigerian oil has been extracted since 1956, huge untapped oil reserves were found in the Niger Delta in the 1970s. While this massive increase in oil extraction made Nigeria one of the richest countries in Africa, it also caused incredible pollution. Between 1976 and 1991, more than 2 million barrels of oil polluted Ogoniland in 2,976 separate oil spills. Each spill killed fish populations, destroying the livelihood of many fishing communities. Additionally, the oil made farmland infertile while tainting the groundwater. In addition to having their coastal communities polluted, Nigeria's agricultural communities endured decades of neglect. Meanwhile, the elite siphoned most of the petroleum profits for themselves and a few of their supporters. In this era, industrial communities did not do much better, as the country entered a phase of deindustrialization. Like the agriculture industry, manufacturing became largely overlooked in favor of lucrative oil investments, as oil became Nigeria's #1 export. This trend continued until the Structural Adjustment Policy, or SAP, was adopted in 1986. This policy was popular in resource-rich developing countries. It greatly reduced government influence over the economy through deregulation. While Nigerians hoped this would increase foreign investments in the declining industrial and agricultural sectors, it mostly increased foreign and domestic investment in petroleum extraction. As these other sectors shrunk, fuel exports grew to 95% of Nigeria's merchandise exports by 1987, according to the World Bank. In Kenya, GDP per capita increased from 363.7 in 1986 to 374.5 in 1989. Unlike these small gains, Nigerian GDP per capita plummeted under the SAP program from 628.2 in 1986 to 465.5 in 1989. In response to Nigeria's per capita income falling, the World Bank declared Nigeria to be eligible for concessional aid from the International Development Association for the first time in 1989. This further highlighted how many Nigerians became impoverished during this period. Despite the SAP reforms, increased foreign investments into oil did little to improve Nigerian standard of living or the stagnating industries where they worked. While Kenya has not become extremely wealthy from its import substitution, it did ensure a steady increase in GDP per capita and human capital for the average Kenyan. In contrast, Nigeria grew a considerably larger overall economy through SAP, but one that was extremely dependent on international oil prices. Unlike Nigeria's focus on one export, Kenya's ISI policy diversified its agricultural economy by manufacturing many unique consumer goods. These differences between Kenya's and Nigeria's mid-century economic strategies are visible today. Kenya still has a balanced economy centered around consumer goods and agricultural product exports. In contrast, Nigeria's economy still heavily favors oil exports, which formed 92% of all merchandise exports in 2023, according to the World Bank. Furthering the comparison between the two countries, Kenya has a slightly higher gross domestic product per capita as of 2023. Additionally, in the 2023 United Nations Human Development Reports, Kenya has a medium human development score of 0.6, compared to Nigeria's low human development score of 0.54. In conclusion, Kenya and Nigeria provide contrasting examples of post-colonial economic development strategies and their long-term outcomes. Kenya's ISI policies slowly grew industrial capacity and human capital. By diversifying its economy towards consumer goods, Kenya has achieved moderate industrial growth and maintains a relatively developed manufacturing sector compared to its neighbors. In contrast, Nigeria's initial attempts at economic diversification were hindered by corruption, internal strife, and greed, particularly during the oil boom of the 1970s. Ultimately, these two countries' contrasting experiences highlight the impact natural resources and economic policy can have on a post-colonial country's economic development. How important do you think economic diversification is for developing countries, and what lessons could they learn from Nigeria and Kenya's economic experiences? Please share your thoughts about this and the overall video in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you liked the video, and have a great day.